Hello friends, welcome to your own YouTube channel Achievers Data Engineering. My name is Gyanendra and in this video of Power BI tips and tricks, we are going to talk about data visualization best practices. Yes, so if you're working on Power BI report, if you're learning Power BI from the scratch, or whether you are working on any other visualization tool, let's say Tableau, ClickView, or any other tool available in the market, if you are altogether creating a report, a set of visualization, then there are certain core principles, there are some best principles that you must follow in order to have a better, a meaningful visualization, right? So in this video, we are going to talk about a couple of best practices that we must follow. I mean, there are not set of principles, there are not, a theory or any article written by, any author, but there are best practices. Now in this document, in this particular presentation, I have taken these best practices provided by Microsoft in their document that's we will be discussing in details. So without any further ado, let's get started. All right, guys. So before we actually jump into the presentation and start discussing about the best practices, let's first understand what does it mean to have a beautiful report, right? So, I mean, there can be various definitions or there can be various standards on which we can evaluate a report to make it and describe it as a beautiful or like it's worth a report looking for, right? But if I talk about in a layman's language, what I will say, if there is a report that I am viewing at, and at a glance after viewing that report, I am able to derive a meaning, I'm able to derive some analysis, and I can come up to a conclusion. So that is something I will say that it's a beautiful report, right? So why do we actually create reports? We create reports so that if we are looking at that report, we will be able to understand what is going on in the background, right? So instead of going through the entire data set, struggling to understand the data, sorting, filtering, and putting it across everywhere, right? Just to save that time every time we prepare that report. So if we are not able to understand a meaningful thinking from that report, or let's say we are struggling to understand a particular report, we are spending an hour to just going back and forth into the multiple visualizations in the report, then that report isn't beautiful, right? Because if you are struggling to understand a report, it's better to go into data and see the real data, right? So I guess that's a brief what is a beautiful report and why should we create a beautiful report, right? So now let's actually get started with the best practices that we should follow in order to create a beautiful report. So the point number one. All right, so the first point that we are going to discuss about is embrace the clarity. So as it says by its name, whatever visualization that we are going to prepare, whatever report we are going to put together, we should have a clarity in our mind. I mean, whatever visualization we are working on, it should not be cluttered, or it should not be too much formatted. So let's talk about these points actually in an example given below. So I mean, there are two visualizations given over here. Now at the first glance you might like it because it's 3D, color seems to be more sharp compared to this one, right? But in fact, if we talk about its usability and couple of details, we will find out this one actually looks better, right? And why so? Let me actually explain you. The first one is, if you see the background color in this particular stack and this particular, like the font color, right? So it might be like readable to you, but it might not be best readable to the rest of the audience. Maybe people is with the color blindness, he won't be able to read it properly because the contrast is too low. They have already pointed this out in this document. Also the user, or sorry, the developer has made it 3D. Now let's say you are sharing this visualization with any executive leader or maybe someone in the higher leadership, and they want to take a screenshot of this visualization and put in their PPT. So it won't make any sense because generally the PPT will have just some text and couple of screenshots, and if everything is normal and you are sharing a 3D visualization, it won't look good over there. So it's better to have a normal looking chart, and all you need to make sure whatever the font color and the background color, they are not like mixing within each other. The numbers should stand out. Now, until unless you don't have any valid reason, you don't have a proper justification why you want to make it 3D, please do not do so, right? And also, having a proper title of each chart make it's a valid chart, right? Because at a glance I don't know what is presenting, whether it is sales, whether it is profit, whether it is number of customers, right? But over here I can see it's an opportunity count by month and region. So I know, okay, in this particular month there were these many opportunities in central region, right? So with help of these labels and titles, I can derive the actual value instead of just seeing, okay, I don't know what is this 13 talking about, right? So have a proper title, do not over format any visual, and make sure it is mixing and matching with the rest of the visualizations. All right, so that's it for the first point. Let's talk about the another point. All right, so another point says be consistent. So what does it mean, right? So be consistent means whatever you are doing in a particular visual element, make sure you are following that approach in the rest of the report. So for example, they have given a two scenario: keep design the elements such as color and line weight uniform, okay, and make the certain name and color representing a particular data point across a dashboard or related charts style the same. Now this is very important, guys. So let me just show you an example right away over here. So in this chart you can say they are representing, let's say, Lindsay and Fashion Direct something. I mean, I don't know what they are talking about. Yeah, it is sales, right? So maybe they are talking about the sales of two particular chain, right? Now in this pie chart they are representing Fashion Direct with some brown color, but in a similar, like, they are representing another chart on the same page. In this chart they are representing the same thing with the green color. Now at a glance I would assume, okay, here it says like it is occupying pretty much space, but why this, this particular bar is very, low, right? It doesn't make any sense. But they are not using the proper color formatting. So what should be the standard approach? That is something shown over here. If you are representing something in any other chart with the green color, in another chart if you are representing the same value again in some other format, you should follow the same color theme across. All right, I mean, it is very important. Even if you are using a line, let's say if you are using an underline in your title, let's say, then if you are using 1 pixel line in a particular area, then make sure in rest of the chart you are using the same formatting, the same weight of that line. And also if you are using, let's say for titles, you are using, let's say, Arial font size, and Arial font and its size is, let's say, 11. So make sure whatever the titles you are giving across the page, except the main title of the page, for all the titles of different charts you are following the same font size and same font. It should not be like for one you have given a different font and for another you have chosen a different font. So it won't make any sense. Just have a proper color, to be followed for each category. And in all visualization you should give the same color for that particular category, right? So again, for example, you are creating two charts, let's say one is bar chart and another one is, let's say, pie chart. So over here if you're representing a sales of a category with the red color, right? So in this chart you should also follow the red color for that category. That's how the end user will be able to understand it, right? Because if he will struggle, then it's not a beautiful report, right? Let's move on a different topic now. All right, guys. So another point in the best practices is to support the readability. Now it's very important again, as we were discussing in the previous point, if you are, choosing a font for your report, make sure the font you are selecting is easy to read font. It should not be like highly, just crisp and like something weird to read, right? So make sure whatever text that you are writing, it is standing out in a particular shape, or if you are filling it somewhere else, make sure whatever you are writing it is standing out and user is able to like easily read it. So I mean, instead of just going through this theory, let me just show you an example over here. So as you can see here in this particular chart, the developer or the creator of this report used some fancy font, but in this chart the font utilized looks a bit professional and a proper written title. Okay, similar to that, there is a some kind of image or some texture is being applied in the background of this chart. He might be, it seems like he has done some over formatting in this particular chart, but it wasn't required, right? Simply having the labels on the axis, like the numbers and the lines, will do the job, and it's easy to read, and we are able to understand and read the legends and whatever is axis titles, and we're able to derive value, right? So make sure you should actually follow these kind of best practices. Do not put any image background the chart unless you are just creating a fancy looking chart. Maybe you are putting all together some cartoons or maybe company's logo, or if you are creating some chart and you don't want anyone to take a screenshot and you are putting a watermark in that background, well, that's completely your choice, right? But that's how your standard chart should look like. You can definitely read through these points. I'm not just going to go through everyone because it's really boring for you, I know it. So now let's just talk about another point in the best practices. All right, guys, so this particular point which says achieve balance is one of my favorite. Now there are various points or various things which are mentioned in this particular point which we should follow while preparing a report. The first one says have a proper white space in between the chart. So let's say you are putting together a report and you have a couple of visualization, like you are putting together a couple of elements. So make sure that you are following a proper white space in between the chart. So for example, starting from the left side of the report, if you have let's say 10 pixels over here, then you should also leave the 10 pixels on this side and the same space in between the charts. Now the 10 pixels might be much or maybe too much in considering your report. So whatever you are putting, whatever you are following, make sure you are following and putting that white space across all the visual elements, even for the page margins and for the each visual element. Now also the third one on this page is this particular point is my favorite. Now note that the culture where people read from left to right, most reviewer focus on the center, right? So whenever we actually read through a report or any paper or anything in general, right? So we start from the left side and then go towards the right, and we obviously start from the top. We don't like start reading from the bottom. That's now how that's not how human read actually, right? So now what good thing is to know on this particular point is the left of a chart giving the upper right, lower left and the lower right areas have less visual importance, right? So whatever we are putting on these particular areas, they probably have less visual meaning, or maybe audience are not looking at those elements at the first glance of the report. Maybe just they will just take a look on the title, they will see something on the center, or maybe on the top left, the first chart, they will see and say, okay, this report looks good or ugly, whatever they want to derive a conclusion, they would do that, right? That's a general human tendency, right? So if we see in this particular example, maybe when a developer was trying to report, he showed a line over here, but seems like the labels are kind of overlapping with each other. So there are too many things to display, and maybe as a viewer I'll be confused whether this number is representing this yellow line or this is for the red line, right? So make sure how we are representing data, it matters, right? So it is something too much to display on a particular page, so we should follow a proper balance. It seems like these are these two visualizations maybe are kind of within each other, but they are having a proper white space in between, right? So having two separate charts are making more sense rather than having everything messed up in a single visual element. All right, so now let's move to our different point and let's talk about it. Okay, so now the next point that we should follow in the best practices when it comes to preparing a visualization is to get input. Now, this is something mostly we should do once we are done with developing from our end, like at least at the first version of the report. So let's say we have prepared a report, we have like gone through the data, we understood it, and then we created a couple of visualization. Now there might be a situation we are able to read a particular visual element, maybe we are able to derive a value from a report because we have spent hours understanding the data and then we have derived a visualization out of it, right? However, if we display this report to altogether a new person who is not aware with the data, if even he is able to derive something by looking at the report, then definitely you have done a great job preparing that visual element in your reports. But if that new person is struggling to understand, if he is not able to derive, okay, this particular bar in this chart representing what, or what is happening, or what does this mean, or if there is a number written, what is it is representing, if he is not able to derive that, then probably you need to do something in your report. You want to make sure it is standing out, you have proper titles, labels, axes, and you have some tool tips over there, so that whenever user are interacting with your reports, he or she will be able to understand, okay, this particular chart is displaying this sales from this category or whatever it is, right? So make sure you are, once you are done developing the report from your end, maybe just show it with your colleague, maybe your like team members, or maybe share a draft copy with your end client. They will give you feedback, and whatever feedback that you are getting, make sure you implement that, because at the end you are not the one who is going to utilize that report, you are developing it, right? At the end you want your report should be like easily understandable to your end users. So that's why you should get input and work on the feedback. Now, the another point is pursue the truth. Now, what does it mean? Well, sometimes we choose a wrong chart type. So in that situation, whatever value we want to represent, it might derive a misleading value, or the true intention behind representing a value may not be, explained by the chart type we are sharing. So in this situation, for example, I want to share the opportunity count by opportunity size in January, and the user or the creator of this report has used some pie chart. But yeah, I mean, we can compare a couple of categories using pie charts, but if we want to share the trend between the time and along with the showing their importance or the numbers, then the line chart would be better, right? So I mean, it's very rough example at this point of time. We should know which chart we should use to represent which kind of value. So I mean, if you know it, then it's wonderful. Please do let me know in the comments if you want me to create a video where we should discuss which kind of chart should be used for which kind of data, or when to use which kind of chart, right? So please do let me know in the comments. I would love to answer that, and I would love to create a video on it. Okay, so I guess these are a couple of the points that we should actually think in our mind while creating a visualization. So as I said, these points were prepared and collected by the Microsoft team, and I just took them from a document. I'll just mention the link of the document in the bottom in the description. Make sure you hit you just go and download it. Now, before I go ahead and close this video, I just wanted to show you this particular document which I downloaded from that Microsoft's website. I'll mention the link in the description I just mentioned. Now, what I wanted to show you in this document, along with these points, they have mentioned a couple of links. So maybe you can you can go on this particular link and you can grab an additional copy that says grab the DIY guide to dazzling data. And that particular copy, they have followed some more best practices. They have shown some practical examples and scenario where you can do it yourself and prepare an altogether dazzling report that will look beautiful, derive meanings, and it would be easy to read. Now, one more thing that I would like to display you here. I mean, while preparing this video, I was just doing some research and I came across this website that says numero.io. Now, I mean, I just want to highlight, this is not a sponsored video, and like there's nothing to do with this particular website. However, while going through this particular website, I found whatever sample templates, whatever Power BI reports they have prepared and made available on the report, they are awesome. I mean, just look at this report, how clean it is, how beautiful it is, and we are able to achieve, like we are able to understand everything at the glance. Nothing is over formatted. They have followed the same font for titles in each kind of chart, right? They have followed the same color, the same theme, and everything looks so perfect. I mean, I will say it's the best example of creating a visual, a beautiful report. Now, as I said, I don't know who is the creator of this particular report, but whosoever has done this, who is the developer of this report, has done a great job. And definitely this report can be taken as an example of a beautiful report. All right, guys, so I hope you like the content, and if you did, please go ahead and hit the like button and make sure you do subscribe my YouTube channel to stay up to date on any latest video that I upload. Thank you for watching. Keep learning. Have a great day, and do mention something in the comments. I'd love to hear yours. Thank you so much.